community outing. It's good to be here. It's also really awesome to be here around the children as well. I want to start with, well, we'll go in order here, and so I'll start first with the approval of the minutes, and then before I move to number 4, I've got a 3.5 that you can't see. So let's start with the approval of the minutes here. We should have all had them, received them beforehand. Is there a motion on the floor here? And for that, I'm actually specifically talking about our last meeting minutes here. Let me know if anyone doesn't have it in front of them or needs to see more.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. In 1 second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell-Gooch. Focused discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion nay. Abstention, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Because we're here at ES Rose Park and our colleague, Mr. Campbell-Gooch, was instrumental in helping find the location, engage the community, but worked very closely with Director Fitchard and her amazing staff as well, Brainsy Thompson, and not to name, but once you name one, you leave out others, so I'm sorry. But I mean, that's all of our staff here. I engaged Mr. Campbell-Gooch. We talked very quickly, and he reached out to say, hey, can I just share a brief history of the space where we're going to be in today for the community and for the board's awareness. I thought that was a wonderful idea. So with that, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Campbell-Gooch.
So, as I've shared with the majority of you all, I worked at this center. So, I feel very spiritually connected to this space. This is where I spent many a summer. But the history of the people in this area, very specifically the black people in this area, has direct connection to the Civil War fort that is right up the street, Fort Negley. Fort Negley is the largest inland fortification in the country. And it is created by dry stack limestone quarried right out of the Cumberland by former slaves who found themselves here at the onset of the Civil War. So I really want to center those people. Also, this building is named after Reverend Thomas Henry Easley, who set up several churches in this area and also was a beacon of light for this. So I really wanted to put that on everyone's mind. Also, this space is a beacon of hope for the people in this community. This is a safe space for the children. This is a safe space for the young adults to come and play. So I'm really excited to be bringing this, which a lot of people voted for, into the space where they can actually see it happening and working.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell-Gooch. It's fantastic. Thank you very much. Ms. Ross.
System, we have to speak loud so the people in the back can hear us.
For sure. Thank you. It's an important point, especially as we start talking and deliberating. Important. With that, I want to pause and welcome 2 new members of the board since our last meeting, Mr. Timothy Hughes, as well as Mr. Sean Whistle. Welcome, gentlemen. We're going to pause and then give you the biggest round of applause. Welcome. Just to see if you were paying attention, we're going to test you out right away and ask you if you would just briefly share a bit of an introduction of yourselves with the board as well as with the assembled public. And I'm starting in a bit of alphabetical order here with Mr. Hughes, and then we'll come to Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Timothy Hughes. I'm a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been here in Nashville for about 20 years. A graduate of Fisk University, and I'm a community organizer with a number of grassroots organizations here in Nashville, and just grateful to be a part of this Community Oversight Board. Looking forward to the work that we have ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Thank you very much. Mr. Witzel, am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes.
Perfect. Welcome.
Sean Witzel, very happy to be here and honored to be a part of this great board. I am originally from Madisonville, Kentucky. I've been in Nashville since 2008. I attended Middle Tennessee State University in Murfreesboro. I come from an artist standpoint, so I'm an artist in the city, and I'm very active as just a community person, and very happy to be here to do this work.
That's fantastic. Welcome to both of you, gentlemen. We'll get a chance to meet you over the course of the conversation today, but it goes without saying, this is a board where all of us work together. Your voice is valued, needed. Clearly, the community felt as such. The city council agreed, so we welcome you. We use a system here of such where we usually turn it around here. All I need is, but these are too fancy to touch too much. So if you would just give it a tug here, but I do my very best to scan the space. To connect. Is that an example? You got something to say?
I got something to say. I just wanted to say congratulations on being reelected, and we're glad to have you back.
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So we will use this without the space. It's good to have a Fisk guide here. We got Fisk guide, got a Blue Raider. We'll take all of the representation. That's fantastic. We're going to move now to chair remarks. I want to update the board on a few important updates since our last conversation here. It's important, and I think you all notice I do my very best both in the executive committee meetings here as well to share both the big picture, but even the small details that I believe will allow us to have a better communication, better deliberation, and decision making down the line. So I'm going to share an update with you, but before I do that, this is why I need everybody to sit as close as they can to me. I'm going to read this appeal statement as well. So give me a moment here. I'm going to pause and read this out very quickly. Apologies here. All right. So pursuant to the provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County Community Oversight Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of cert. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision of the board by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. With that, now, I want to move to let you know about two recent communications I sent out. We had an executive committee meeting on last Friday around 5:30 in the afternoon. During that time, I shared with the board that I connected with Director Fitchard and learned that there was a publicly noticed meeting that took place yesterday. That was in the purpose and occasion, from what I understood from the notice that was sent to everyone, was to allow a demonstration of the in-car system as well as the body-worn cameras as well. So the camera system and the body-worn camera. We received notice of this, and I say we, meaning I believe when Director Fitchard gets that, then she naturally shares it out. There's no other way to say it late. We did not know about it, I believe, until, let's say, Director Fitchard, am I wrong, that it was about 6 days before the scheduled meeting, so less than a week before, which, and I've said this more than one and a couple of times, you're going to hear me say it again, that late notice is tantamount to no notice, right? And that the involvement of the COB is not a cursory, optional, we'll figure it out when we get there, but rather as important as do we have keys to get into the building, right? And in my opinion, you don't pick the date. You should not have picked the location unless the COB was involved. So I was troubled by that as your chair. And I made it very clear that we didn't have time to come together as a board because the program was yesterday, to decide exactly how we wanted to respond, what should happen. And so I had to take a bit of liberty here, and I did consult with the executive committee to let them know what I intended to do, which was send a communication to John Button of the mayor's office, also to Chairman Pulley, because Russ Pulley serves as the chair of the Public Safety Committee, which was tasked with and organized and executed the notification and coordination of the event. And so I did just that. I sent two separate emails, one to Mr. Button, another to Chairman Pulley. To Mr. Button, in the email to Mr. Button, I made a few things, a few points. The first was around the late notice, because it was clear that the mayor's office was aware of this meeting well before Director Fitchard was. And in fact, Mr. Button had sat down with Director Fitchard and had a meeting where he was talking to her about upcoming policies and not policy, but just engagements and opportunities, but not once mentioned this big meeting coming down the pipe. And I found that to be just a missed opportunity. And I shared with him that while we appreciate, look forward to the continued partnership, we need the lines of communication to be completely open. I also shared with him that we, as a board, want to make sure that our COB staff are thought of early and often as it relates to community criminal justice meetings, public safety meetings, and I asked Director Fitchard, were there any meetings where she's still not a part of the agenda or included on notifications, and she shared with me that there are the CJ stakeholder meetings that she's requested and being a part of and has not been added. And so, correct me at any point, Dr. Fitchard, if I share any of this incorrectly. So I included that in my communication to Mr. Button and explained to him that that's just not acceptable. Right, and I made it very clear. Look, I don't have the opportunity to talk to the board yet, so you're speaking. This message is coming from the chair, but I will go back to the board to let them know and inform them of everything I'm sharing here. Similar on another space, I also shared with Mr. Button that one thing that I feel we've been missing that we had previously, and by the way, this came out of the executive committee meeting, was that we used to have the presence of a liaison at our meetings. And we had someone that worked very closely with us so that we could avoid pitfalls, so we were in the know, right? And so when we had the advice and counsel and just partnership of Mr. Floyd, it was indispensable to us just standing this up. And I would say it's still important now. And so I asked Mr. Button if he's that right person. Is there somebody else that we should think about? Do they plan to send someone else in his absence? And the response I got, before I move to Chairman Pulley, I want to be very clear here. The response I got was that he is the proper designated liaison for us. He expressed that he was also let's see, thanked me for reaching out, he appreciated my concerns. He said he hopes that we know how hard they're working to communicate clearly and openly with the COB. And then he mentioned to me that he is the point person for these public safety issues. He reminded me of his role and title, and that he's very focused on these community safety issues. I appreciate all of his focus and response, but we need presence. And so I have not responded to Mr. Button's email, and I want to be very clear, we serve on the board, and so our focus here is the mission, goals, and principles of what are in our bylaws, and I feel that we would be doing all of this work a disservice if we did not push and impress upon those that have power and privilege in this space to know that including the COB is not an option. Talking to us early is not an option. I can't speak to Chief Anderson and their decision to move forward or who was in the conversation, but I know that the mayor's office knew about this meeting, and they should have ensured that we were a part of that conversation. I sent a similar email to Chairman Pulley. Chairman Pulley's response was much different. In fact, he said that he profusely apologized. He said this falls squarely on his shoulders. He said when he took over as chair of the Public Safety Committee that the relationship between the COB was definitely one of his priorities. And he said that he cannot, quote, cannot believe that he failed to communicate with you, meaning the COB, on this. And he said that we are certainly right to be upset about this. In the email to Mr. Pulley, I said that I understood that we have not sat down with Mr. Pulley to have a conversation. Right. And so I said maybe it's most appropriate that we quickly get with you to make sure that moving forward, the Public Safety Committee thinks of quickly Director Fitchard in her office and the COB. He welcomed and opened up his calendar for that, and that meeting is set tentatively for Tuesday, March 3rd. I know all of this is a lot, so I want to pause there for questions and comments. The executive committee can remind me if there's anything I shared with you all on Friday that I'm not sharing here. But I also think it's important to note, too, the support that does exist here. So in that space, seeing the lack of presence yesterday from the community that was just dismal and low, right? And to no fault of the community, but rather not being able to plan. Not everybody can get away at 4 o'clock to be somewhere at 4:30, et cetera, right? I intend to speak with Chairman Pulley and ensure that they are already thinking about, hope they're already thinking about what doing this again looks like, because I think quickly this needs to be turned around with much more notice. And then also hearing and seeing the community not being engaged, Councilwoman Hurt did reach out to the mayor's office and express deep frustration about all of this, made sure also that it was very clear that this would not be tolerated at all, not just from consideration of her immense role in this community, but also thinking about the minority caucus that also stands firmly placed in making sure the COB is successful too. So with that mouthful, let me pause. Is there any question, comments here? Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. I did have a question with regard to that meeting that you just described on Tuesday. Is that an executive board meeting? And if so, would it be appropriate for either myself or Mr. Witzel, who we are as new members of the board, to be present at that point? We're just kind of trying to figure out.
It's a great question. So it won't be a CEO. It won't be an executive committee meeting. In fact, because of the Sunshine Law, it only be one member of the board, and I as chair will attend, but Director Fitchard will be there as well. We can, and depending on response and what comes out of that, call an executive committee meeting before kind of our regularly scheduled. We try to do it that week before the 4th week where we all come together. But I have no problem also doing what I've done in the past, which is type up a review and overview of the meeting so that everybody on the board is in the loop of what comes out of that. The importance of this can't be understated. I'm happy to do that. And I usually do it within that less than 12, 30, 24 hours.
Thank you, Chair.
I just want to clarify that it's Russ Pulley is a council member and that he's the chair of the Public Safety Board.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fitcher. Anyone else? Questions, comments here?
I do have one.
Yeah.
I wanted to wait for everybody else, just kind of hold that space. When it came to Bunsen, I think that's how you say his name. Okay, thank you. So was there any mention about more presence in his response? I'm just saying. Because I honestly can't remember the last time he was here.
The last time he was here is when he, yeah.
Maybe
a little bit more than that.
It wasn't the last board meeting.
Well, let me read his PS. So he says, okay. Like you, though, he was saying that he needs a little more heads up on meetings, saying that he wouldn't be available for this 4 p.m. meeting today on the 26th. However, our meetings happen every month at the same time. So I'll be happy to communicate and put a placeholder. In fact, maybe you can send a reminder there so that he'll automatically have it there. And he said that he did intend to speak with Director Fitchard about how we are communicating between the mayor's office and the COB. He says it needs to work well, and he's confident that we can figure it out. And he also extended his time for a follow-up call too, which I greatly appreciate. But first and foremost, I felt it important to come back to the board to make sure that I was communicating how and what we felt needed to be shared.
And then I have Then I have one more question, and that's about participation. Mm-hmm. When Mr. Floyd was here, it was times where we could literally ask a question, and then he would respond from the crowd. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's also important to center and focus on. It's just we're looking for the mayor's office to be a resource and answer questions when we have them.
Absolutely.
Not retreat into political words and backtrack away from something because it seems too tender to touch. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that's like super important that we talk about, like, not only does the mayor's office need to be represented here, but they also need to weigh in when possible.
Agree.
I do have something to say. Mr. Bunton did reach out to me as well, and he apologized for his lack of communication about the BWC demonstration. And so he said that he would work on that, and that we can, like, I can always call him. And I just wanted to let everyone know that he did reach out to me as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful. And I, you know, you don't. In my opinion, I would have rather this not have happened. Right? This is a waste of time, resources, etc. Because they will have to do this again.
Yes.
Showing it to a room of people who had already seen it before they got there doesn't help anybody. People also didn't have an opportunity to ask questions, to think about this. And especially people who have been knee-deep in all of this work. But I appreciate Mr. Bunton's quick response. I don't think it was just a few hours, and I had a response to my email. Let me pause here because, and let me, I'm being, I want to make sure I'm touching all things we need to touch on. There's just one more thing in the chair remarks I need to touch on and engage, but I do feel it's important to note we have support. We're not fighting this fight alone, right? This is not something where we're saying, let us in the door, don't leave us out. We have strong support in all various spaces, and quite frankly, sometimes that just means we need to engage those support systems so that they know what strife we're going through. Because quite frankly, even as chair, I'm not even aware of all the things that perhaps Director Fitcher and her staff go up against. Just in the, I believe, in the executive committee meeting, we learned of what was the denial or what was that we talked about that came back, and you were saying they just said a blanket no.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about that.
Okay, and it'll be in your report. Well, I will not even give a preview. But the point of the matter is that if we don't talk about these things publicly and openly, they can't get resolved. And too much of this is people want us to talk to them one-on-one, but then they want to give us a bag of bad lemons and tell us, like, go off, make lemonade with this. No, we have to have real things going on. And I've shared very honestly that as chair, there is not much you can say to me and be talking about the COB that I'm not going straight back to Director Fitcher and saying X, Y, and Z to her, and vice versa. And then I'm coming here to share it with the board. So I think that's important. And I want to thank Councilwoman Hurt. I know she's here with us, I believe. Thank you, Councilwoman Hurt. And I even want to extend Councilwoman Hurt because no one asked you to send the communication, but I appreciate you CCing me on that space. But if there's anything you think that even the board needs to be aware of, or if you've received a response as well from the mayor's office, we welcome that. Because quite frankly, our next step in phase in all of this is going entity by entity to ensure that we have an agreement that we will be included on this. Unless the board, the board feels differently, I think we need to do this. So we welcome you to the mic.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And I did receive a response from Mr. Bunton in regards, and he said that he was going to reach out to Director Fitcher directly today. And I shared with him that I felt that they were basically informing the COB and the director as opposed to engaging and including the COB. And that is not something that was expected from the community when they elected to have this board. And I don't think that the charter was meant to say, we're going to inform you, but more so that we wanted there to be some inclusion with the decisions that are made from beginning to end. And in his response to me, I responded back again with those particular words, asking or stating that there should be inclusion and engagement from beginning to end on decisions. He then called me and assured me that that was the posture of the mayor's office, is to make sure that there is a good relationship between the police and the Community Oversight Board. So I told him that I would be available to meet and talk or whatever is necessary in order to make sure that this relationship is built. I do believe that the city of Nashville is postured now to be a model with this particular board to show other cities that it can be done and how it should be done. And we would miss a grand opportunity if we did not insist on this type of relationship. So with saying that, the Minority Caucus has stated that the Community Oversight Board is one of its priorities for this year's agenda. And we invite you all, the Executive Director, to come to our Minority Caucus meetings on the second Monday of each month. And if you'd like a few moments to speak on it, we will most certainly welcome you to be there. And this is not going to go away. I think that it's very, very important for us to make sure that the COB is successful. So I just wanted to publicly state the support from the Minority Caucus, and personally, you know that I stand behind and aside to everything that this board was created to be.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hurd.
Thank you.
Very much.
Any questions for me?
Mr. Holloway?
I'd just like to say, since you're on the council, it's more important that you support us in the number of counties that we get. From my understanding, it's not going to be a whole lot of counties. It may not be in the budget, but you know the budget is coming up soon.
Yes.
And our lives matter. And where are they going to put the counties is very important to us. So if we got you, the Minority Council, Caucus, pushing this also, maybe someone will hear us saying that this is an important need. We don't want the crumb, we want the whole pack.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway. Thank you, Councilwoman Hurd. We absolutely appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And the last component of my remarks here, just a reminder to the board here, as we are entering our second year here, that we remember our bylaws and how we're governed here as it relates to comments. I want us to be very careful also, even if we are engaged by media, that according to our bylaws and our rules here, that only the chair and our director, executive director, are permitted to speak, and that is both on or off the record, right? And so you will be absolutely asked, without a doubt, but it is important that we move forward what we agreed upon as a board, and that governs all of us. With that, I will turn it over to our executive director for her report.
Hello, thank you. So February has been an active and productive month. We have worked through creating best practices and processes of our internal structures. We worked really diligently on our research advisory reports. We had a working group for that. We've been working on our Youth Advisory Council and then some community initiatives.
Director Fisher, can we move the mic towards you, and then could you speak up just a bit?
Yes. We've been working diligently on our research advisory reports, our Youth Advisory Council, and our community initiatives with the purpose of moving forward with these projects in the coming months. We actually were invited to Cane Ridge High School for their civil rights program or assembly tomorrow, so we'll talk a little bit about the COB, its function, as well as how civil rights are affected with what we do. And we also have hired a new assistant director. That person was selected and will start on March the 16th. That is Mr. Christopher Clausey. And I'm very excited. He comes with a whole bunch of governmental operation experience as well as investigative knowledge, which is really needed in our office. We also will, I think starting in March and April, since the weather's going to change, we definitely need to spend more time in the community, educating the community on the role that we have. I've noticed that as I'm talking to people in the community, they are sometimes misled or not understanding that they can just come directly to us, that they don't have to just go to the police department, that they have an option now. And so I think that that's where we're going to focus be very intentional and mindful of, pursuing that and making certain that in every area of Nashville that we are out and engaging the community. This month I've had 9 community meetings, and our next board meeting is going to be held at the Coleman Park Community Center in South Nashville. I think it's important that we start moving away out into the communities because we haven't really touched the Antioch community or the South Nashville community. We haven't been out in the Bellevue area, nor have we been in West Nashville. And so I think it's important that we do that. And so as the months come on, as we move into the summer months, all of our community meetings will be out in the community. I've had a meeting this month with the Metro Public Defender and the Mayor's Public Safety Liaison, which was John Bunton, just talking about, how we could, collaborate. I'm going to give a presentation to the Metro Public Defender's Office so that they understand what we do, and if they have clients that might need our services, that they have the option to use our services instead of using OPA, or they can do both. It's up to them. But we want to make certain that they know that. I had a ride-along schedule for tomorrow. I just need to make certain that's confirmed. And we had 3 policy meetings this month, and they were very helpful in how we are going to move about creating policy and our advisory reports. I had my budget meeting today, my first one. It went really well. It was 15 minutes. And, and it was really good. It was nice to meet the team, the mayor's team, and his committee. They were really great. They asked really engaging questions, and they will get back with us with information on how we can keep track of certain things that they want information on. And we're going to have an open house. That's going to be Saturday, April the 4th at 12 p.m. at our office. And I also want to say that we completed our annual report on time, got it to the state legislator on January the 31st. It was due on the 1st, and we haven't heard anything from them, but I was happy with it. It looked good, and I'm excited about it. And I made a hard copy. We got these for everyone, so. That's my ED report. I do want to talk about some new things that have come up in the last week. The first thing is we have some cases that we have sent out letters to officers in regards to investigations. And so we have mailed the letters out to the officers. The officers have responded. Most of the officers have invoked their garrity rights, which means that they want the chief to order them to speak to us. That has happened. The chief has ordered them to speak to us. We sent a letter to Kathy Moranti, talking, we talked about how we were going to set this up. Kathy is the scheduler for that. She scheduled it, and she set it up she set the appointments, and then she scheduled the interviews to be conducted at MMPD headquarters. I responded back that we want to we'll take the date, but we want to set those interviews at our office at the MNCO. So then we had to have some conversation back and forth, and because that information, what she's saying about having them at MMPD headquarters is not in the MOU. And so she said, well, she would talk with the chief about that in regards to allowing the officers to conduct the interviews at our location. And she called me back, we had a conversation, and she said the chief was not going to allow the officers to meet with us at our location. That we needed to have that was his cooperation. His cooperation is that he's asking or ordering the officers to speak to us, but there was no agreement for the interviews to be conducted anywhere except for MMPD headquarters. And so I said I'm not comfortable with that. It does not seem to be an independent investigation if they are there recording and engaging in our interview. And so I just told him that I was not going to be able to agree to that. The officers each have attorneys. They are represented by attorneys. The attorney can come to the interview that we're conducting, and I don't think it's necessary for us to have our interviews at police headquarters. And so I'm updating the board on that because that was the last thing we talked about on Monday.
So we'll pause there. Dr. Fisher shared this with me, and then and we spoke actually before you gave your second response to them, because I was hoping that they would understand, come to terms, want to find a quick resolution to this, weren't able to. And so as I read the MOU, when we come to something like this, Mr. Holloway, I'll come right to you, that we use the 6th clause of the MOU that says that we then have an emergency negotiation. This is not something I think we can wait till the end of the year to figure out.
No.
I'm concerned also, and we've operated, the MOU was crafted with everyone at the table understanding we're doing what is best for the body of the cause. This here seems very self-focused here, and that worries me. Let me ask you this, and Dr. Fisher, have you engaged or spoke to at all, because the third party of all of this would be the mayor's office, or quite frankly, actually the Metro Legal Director. Am I correct about that? It would be Representative 1 from here, Representative 2 from MMPD, and then mediator in the middle. Am I correct?
It was.
I see Ty nodding here.
So it's the representative from here, Metro Legal, the liaison, Mr. Bunton, and then Deputy Chief Hager.
Deputy.
Yeah. So the mayor's office is represented. Metro Legal would be Mr. Cooper.
Got it.
Attorney
Okay.
Bob
Yes,
Cooper.
of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So 4.
It was 4 people.
4 people.
Yes, in the negotiation
Okay.
process.
Let me go to Mr. Holloway first, and I'll come to Mr. Cambridge.
By you permitting them to have a legal advisor with them doing the interview, there's nothing wrong with that,
Right.
And also, we need to convince the mayor, that it's not nothing that we're trying to ambush nobody on anything like that. This is the person that's gonna represent him, and he's gonna kind of go along with him with the questioning and everything. If it's something he feel like he shouldn't answer, then he will let him know. So I think we got a good stand to still fight for this, to have the interview over at your office.
Yeah, the fact that an officer has representation to me is sufficient, and they can conduct the interview anywhere. I mean, the officer is represented by legal counsel. And so, having it at police headquarters does not seem independent to me. And it almost seems like there could be some issues with the interview if they're watching and recording and listening in.
It's intimidation.
Do you think?
It's a problem. It's a conflict there. Mr. Campagooch and then Ms. Ross.
I just want to make sure I have my numbers right. How many officers were?
That's what I'm saying.
Was it?
It's multiple cases. So in one case, it's 3 officers. In another, I think it's 2. Yeah.
And it's, like you said, it's multiple cases. And then I also have a comment about the negotiation task force. I know we've been using, excuse me if I screw the title up, Deputy Chief Hager.
That's correct.
Is there any way to get Chief Anderson at these things? Because that might be pie in the sky, but at this point in time, like, it just seems like he need to be there, or in closer proximity to the actual discussion going on, so that there can't be no miscommunication. There can't be no claim that he wasn't at the table, so he don't know what's going on. So because I feel like we're having these conversations in good faith, but it seems to be one person that's not. And so I just want to offer that as a suggestion, or just like a thought that's coming off the top of my head. Can we get him closer to the actual conversation? And I know that might be difficult, and I know that might be like a tender area, but at this point, I don't care how tender it is,
Well, I want to say that the denial for us to have it at our office came directly from the chief, right?
For sure.
From Chief Anderson. It did not come from, there was no buffer in between. Kathy went straight to the chief,
Right.
and the chief gave us that response.
Right, and with that being said, that's why I'm thinking maybe he just needs to be closer to the negotiation task force when it does happen.
And the other thing, and I agree, I think the other thing is what's important here is in the MOU under intake investigations, under number 3, it says that interviews occurring as a result of such an order will be scheduled by OPA, taking into account the employee's assigned shift, regular days off, and availability. It does not mention anything about the location. In fact, when it was in the directive, we had issues with it being in his initial directive, and that is one of the things that I was under the impression that we negotiated, because we weren't comfortable with it when he initially said it,
Right.
and that is why it's not in this MOU now. So, you know.
Thank you. Let's come back to this point here. I want to go to Ms. Ross, Mr. Sweeney, and then Mr. Holloway.
Can you use the microphones, please?
Sure. They're not actually going to amplify, but we'll speak louder.
We'll speak louder.
We
sorry.
will. Absolutely. Thank you for reminding us, too.
Mr. Guter answered my question.
That was your question?
That was my
Okay.
question. How many cases?
How many cases? Mr. Sweeney?
Yes. When we were looking at the draft MOU and the issue regarding the Garrity claim, the clarification that we got through the mayor's office was that Garrity would be something that they would expect to be rarely invoked, because it rarely is invoked in OPA matters. And it's only when you even get to this Garrity level where there's any involvement of OPA at all in the process. And so I asked Director Fitchard, I said, well, is there an arguable criminal issue where these people could be invoking Garrity? And she's advised me that not that she's aware of. And so I'm concerned that Garrity is being invoked on a basis to try to kind of compromise the process that we have. So we have two issues here, and one is the claim for Garrity, and number two is the issue of, even when it is invoked, where the interviews take place. So, you know, my original concern when I read that part of the MOU was that it seemed to imply that any time an officer could just invoke Garrity, and if they invoked Garrity, then we were going to be going off on this other trail. And that's when Mr. Bunton came back and said, no, that's not the purpose of it, that's not how it was designed, and that's not what is intended to occur. And now it looks like that's exactly what's happening. So that's an additional issue that when this emergency meeting takes place needs to be addressed and clarified so that everybody understands that Garrity is not just a pass out of the system into something else.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. I think both important points in looking at our legal advisor here, Mr. Pinckney. Have you had any communication at all? Do you have anything else to add to that? And I do think this emergency meeting takes place, both of those issues need to be addressed, especially if there's going to be an abuse of invoking the Garrity rule. As much as possible, I'd like for this to be resolved without having to call this meeting. But to Mr. Campbell-Gooch's point, if we do not have fair and full participation with an honest understanding of offering up something that is just completely unfeasible, is a waste of everyone's time, then we have to do what the MOU has allowed us, dictates that we will do, right? So let me pause it. Mr. Pinckney, is there anything you think we should be thinking of or keep in mind? I think that's important.
That's just coming immediately to my mind. When Director Fitcher and I spoke about this before, this isn't necessarily with the Garrity issue, but with the holding the interviews at MNPD headquarters, what we had talked about was what she's already mentioned, that it was in the chief's original directive. It didn't make it into the current MOU, so clearly that was partially negotiated. Otherwise, it would have stayed in there. So I think that it seems to me that there's some doubling back on trying to hold these interviews at MNPD headquarters when that wasn't what was negotiated. As far as Garrity, I agree with Mr. Sweeney on that. It doesn't seem like it should be occurring, and it shouldn't have occurred on 5 officers this quickly, especially since, as Mr. Bunton had said previously, it's supposed to be used rarely and for criminal issues. And I don't know all of the facts for these 2 cases, but they don't seem to strike me as having criminal issues.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Holloway?
Yes, Chief Anderson last I remember, he worked for the mayor. The mayor don't work for him.
I don't know.
So we got to get an inside track to the mayor and say, we're not getting the cooperation. We got the MOU, and if this ain't to work in good standards, we have to get Chief Anderson to cooperate now. Chief Anderson don't have nothing to worry about. He can retire. But we understand he don't work. The mayor don't work for him. So as long as we got the mayor on our side, I believe we can get jumping done.
Mr. Holloway, any other members of the board have any comments here? If not, Mr. Kamaguchi, you turned around?
Yeah, I just have a question about the options. I just wanted to get it clear.
Sure.
A clear just conversation about what our options are and just next steps.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna leave that out
Yeah.
there.
So my
I just want to add time frame also.
Time frame too. Absolutely.
Also,
time frame.
yes.
Okay. So, so the question around how quickly are we thinking about moving here on this in the emergency meeting? Look, I don't know the date, and for obvious reasons, we want to know as little as possible about the cases involved here, so that we can remain impartial and biased here. My belief, however, is that this meeting needs to take place within the next week, because without even knowing the date of the scheduled interviews, if this takes, second meeting, God forbid, here, we need to allow for time for that. So I would think earlier rather than later. We're at Wednesday now, and so we would send that communication if the board agrees here, send the communication that we are requesting this emergency meeting, that we're invoking that section of the MOU, and that we're requesting this meeting take place, let's say, quite frankly, I don't think it should take more than a calendar week for the first occurrence to take place. Now, I understand people have schedules, and I have no ones in front of me, but this is too important to hold and to wait. And as far as I'm aware, Ms. Morante, Director Morante, has been very responsive in the emails, even if the responses have, quite frankly, not made a lot of sense about thinking about all the things involved here. So
Right, because she doesn't make the decision.
she doesn't. She's going back. So she's giving only what she's been given, and then we received it back by way of Director Fitchard and scratched our heads as to how they thought in any way that we would agree to such terms. But is there a motion here? Are we in agreement? No, I say is there a motion first. We'll know about the agreement after the fact about moving forward with the emergency meeting.
Yeah, I have a
Well, you can move.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to put it in the way you just put it. So I have a motion that we call for an emergency meeting within the next 7 days.
Thank you, Mr. Kamaguchi. Moves that we call for an emergency meeting between the COB and the MNPD within the next 7 days. It's been seconded by Dr. Lewis. Any focused discussion here? Questions, comments as it relates to this motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Director Fitcher, I'll work very closely with you here. One piece that, apologies, one moment, Mr. Goddard. But we'll work very closely here. Recognize, however, our designee to the negotiation task force is not present. By chance, if this does not work for Dr. Hildreth, I will make myself available to be a part of this, right? And so I don't want to speak for someone else's calendar here, but we certainly do want to make sure that we have a representative in that space.
And Dr. Hildreth said she's going to be late, so we might want to address it when she gets here.
We should do that after the fact, though. Okay, I think that'll belabor the point of the agenda here. But I certainly can chat with her, Mr. Gardner.
I just had a comment following up on Mr. Kamaguchi's comments on Chief Anderson versus Deputy Chief showing up at these meetings. The MOU, as I read it, and I defer to Mr. Pinkley on any disagreement there, it says that the parties shall engage in good faith discussions. To my mind, that means either the chief is there or the chief is sending someone who is fully authorized to negotiate and make compromises and come out at different things. If someone shows up directed, the answer is no and don't move from that, that's more the problem to me than whether the chief or the deputy chief shows up.
President.
One person's opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Absolutely. Any additional comments on the executive director report? If not, we will move forward.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. So I want to, are you turned here?
Yeah, I have one
go
more
ahead.
question. I'm
Please,
sorry.
please.
Before, if I remember correctly, and the executive team, feel free to correct me. When we were doing the negotiations, we put the executive. We had an executive board meeting near the negotiations, if I remember it correctly.
Repeat that. I'm sorry. I didn't-
So when we were negotiating the MOU, we had executive meetings kind of around when the negotiations were taking place. Am I remembering that correctly, or am I misstating that?
Executive sessions or executive committee?
We did have. I think we might have had one.
Okay.
Or maybe two.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I would like to do that here as well, to offer support to whoever is representing the board when they're in those negotiations. So I don't know if that needs a motion or official board action.
No, that could just
Or
be
we could
the
just
chair
coordinate.
calling the meeting.
Cool.
No, I think they do fine on that. Ms. Ross?
I just want to ask Jill one other thing in terms of your report. Has there been training set up for police academy training for the new people? And can some of the persons that did not attend all the training sessions filter into those trainings?
Yeah, from my understanding, if you didn't complete the trainings, they won't let you just pick up where you left off. You would have to start the classes over.
Oh, wow.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you. The next CPA dates are on March the 17th to May the 26th. That will be the spring session. So for the new board members, you have to attend a session before the year is up, right? So within your first year. The second session, which is a summer session, it's from June the 2nd to August the 18th. And then there's a fall session. It's from September 1st to November the 17th. The session, they're registering for the spring session now. It's been set, and it will be held, I believe, in West Nashville, at the West Precinct, I believe. No, South Precinct. I'm sorry. It's at the South Precinct. The other dates for the summer session and for the fall session, those are tentative dates. She said that it could be changed maybe by a week, and they don't have the location set yet.
Did they give details on, is it Tuesday nights?
It's going to be, well, some of the sessions they might change. It could be Thursday nights. So whatever those dates are, I don't know. I didn't look. March 17th is on a Tuesday night, so it will start on that one. But they can go from Tuesdays or Thursdays. They pick the date.
Did we talk to them also about content relevant to that of the board? I think we spoke about that, about the training itself. Does that come up again?
I think what they said in the MOU, they didn't really change it. It's just a basic CPA. Okay. And so they had some, it seemed like there was some, I don't think that they were really receptive to that. So it says training provided by the department. It says that we will have access to the Citizens Police Academy for board members and personnel. Okay. In order to document compliance with charter requirements, certification of completion will be provided upon physical attendance and successful completion of all sessions. And then they go into some things as it regards to recruit training, because I've been sending our investigators to some of the recruit training, and so that is all they talk about in regards to the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else on this matter, Mr. Sweeney?
Yes. Did they say why we can't attend meetings that we missed?
No. I can ask her, but I didn't get that. That wasn't.
I mean, I think that's something that we should push for.
Agree.
That really doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It makes no sense.
We're not getting a certificate or anything either, right?
Right. We were not issued the same level of certificate that all other participants have had. Chief Anderson didn't attend and engage as he has every other session. So I'm very confused why they were not able to meet all the parameters that they've done for years, and yet they want us to start over. And I'm happy to engage in that conversation. But they need to be, I'd like a very clear understanding on that space and time. And I also want to make sure that the time is used better, right? Okay. Because there was, in my mind, space and time where it didn't seem like the meetings ran as efficiently as they could in the time that was allotted. And so if you're going to ask people work full day and then come and spend 3+ hours in a space, use it efficiently. And make sure that, again, if I've done 4 of the 10 why ask people to come back and do that same for? And also send people their certificates, right? If they participated, send it to them.
And from my understanding, this last session that they created, which was the first session, when I talked to Ms. Crowder, she said it was a special COB session.
Well,
So,
we should get special COB certificates.
Right.
Just telling you that's what she said.
Well, if it's a special COB session, one, that would have been great to know, but I also think that the content would have been tailored more to be more relevant to the conversation here. But okay, but we can begin that conversation too.
I think this is the time to do it, since it's a new session starting.
Absolutely.
These new sessions are starting, so we need to probably have that
So
conversation.
we can get to,
Just let me know.
we can get the best use of the time. Thank you, that's very helpful. Mr. Sweeney, anything else on that, or Mr. Holloway?
I've got a question for the director on a related subject.
Unrelated to this here, please.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'll come to Mr.
Related to your report, were you going to talk separately about the case status?
Yes. About that.
'Cause I
Well,
just,
before we move to this, Mr. Holloway, do you have something on this specifically?
It's related to what we were talking about.
Okay, Ken, let's go here and then we'll go to the case.
Okay. I feel that I should been exempt to go to those classes because of my 35 years. If I went to every class, everybody else ought to go to those classes. And if you miss, then you need to be recycled. Nobody's exempt. That's what you told me. So everybody should be held accountable.
For sure.
I think we're in the same vein, Mr. Holloway. Thank you very much, both for your service and your comments here. Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
yes, I just had a question about the complaint log and the two matters that are pending from 2019. Are those the ones that we talked about just a moment ago? Or are those more current matters?
So yes, those are cases that are, those are the two cases that we are talking about. That's correct.
Okay, and is that why they're still in the pipeline at this point?
Yes.
This far off?
Right, because while the MOU was being negotiated, we kind of was at a standstill. So those are the two cases that we are working towards.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Sweeney. Okay, we will conclude the executive director report section of the agenda. I want to ensure that everyone is prepared and positioned at the next board meeting for the process of electing our executive committee members. So it is time to do that again. And in fact, these newly elected officers, those selected to serve, will serve one-year terms. We've done the 6-month twice now, but that was an agreement of the board, so we're now positioned to do 1 year. Mr. Pinkley, would you mind giving us an overview here so that we're all positioned to vote next month?
Absolutely. So at today's meeting, all we really need to do is have the chair nominate or have volunteers for a nominating committee. That committee will meet sometime between now and the March meeting, and they will decide who they feel is appropriate for the role of chair, vice chair, second vice chair, and secretary. They will only bring one person to the board, and that will be the board, the nominating committee's nominations for those positions. At that time, Chair Davis will open the floor to nominations or discussion about that nomination. Nominations can then come in from the floor, so if any other members of the board feels that a different member of the board or themselves should serve in that role, they can nominate at that time. If there are multiple people that have been nominated, then we will have an open ballot, essentially just a blank sheet of paper. You'll write down which name that you feel should serve in that particular role. One of the issues I think we ran into at the last election was that names were in multiple places and maybe votes were split into different places where people felt that maybe they were better suited for second vice chair as opposed to vice chair. This way, each election will be conducted separately, and everyone will have the same opportunity for each individual role. And then that will take place at the March meeting. But for today, the only real issue is coming up with a nominating committee, and that's, you can appoint or have volunteers for that.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkley. Let me be clear, too, that just because you're a member of the nominating committee in no way means that you yourself can't be one nominated or self-nominate if you so choose, but you would be a part of that deliberation to determine who that one person would be.
That's correct.
It's important. Before I go about nominating or appointing, I'd rather take, are there volunteers who are interested in participating on this committee? As chair, I think I excuse myself, but I welcome others. Ms. Ross, okay? Okay.
Yes, I did have one clarifying question, Mr. Pinkley. Could you describe once again the positions one more time?
Sure.
I can make a note of it.
So the positions are, and they are listed in the bylaws, so I'll just run through them real quick. The first position is the chair. The chair shall preside at all meetings of the board and executive committee. Chair shall be responsible for the general administration of the board's affairs, general supervision of the board staff, and the implementation of the board's recommendations, resolutions, and policies. The chair shall have, hold, and exercise such powers and perform such duties as provided for herein or by the executive committee. The next position is for first vice chair. The first vice chair, in the absence or upon the resignation, removal, or disability of the chair, shall perform the duties and exercise the powers of the chair, and shall perform such duties as the board, executive committee, or chair may require. The next position is second vice chair. Second vice chair, in the absence or upon resignation, removal, or disability of the first vice chair, shall perform the duties and exercise the powers of the first vice chair, and shall perform such duties as the board, executive committee, or chair may require. And then finally is the secretary. The secretary is responsible for taking, maintaining, and transmitting the official minutes of the board meetings, but may delegate any or all of these tasks to a member of the board's staff. The secretary shall perform such other duties as may be prescribed by the board, executive committee, or chair.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
And he gave a handout as well. So it's,
and if there's any other questions, feel free to email me and I'll be happy to answer those.
Mr. Holloway, you turn around, sir.
Okay, the qualification. Does that mean new members just came in, the other with the run for office?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, what you telling me that a person just got in, been in 1 month and run for chair, it just depends on who voted for him, right?
It would.
Okay.
There's a simple majority rules for each position, so it'll be up to the board to elect that person.
Well, the reason why I'm trying to get this straight, because the last election was so messed up.
Yes, sir.
Nobody would listen to me. And talking about we didn't have time to do it over. We had time, we just didn't do it.
Yes, sir.
This ain't about trying to do a resume for a job or trying to improve the resume. We want something somebody that's going to do the job to represent the people that voted for this organization. That's what it's for. You know, I ain't about trying to hold no position, trying to improve no resume. I just want to speak for the people in the community, represent them, make sure they're heard, make sure that we can do what they want us to do.
Yes, sir, and I agree. The last elections did not run very smoothly, so I did a little diving into Robert's rules, and this was the preferred method based on having a nominating committee as a part of our bylaws.
Are there any other volunteers?
I will.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Okay.
Oh, another question.
One moment, Mr. Holloway. Dr. Lewis, thanks. So we have Ms. Ross, Dr. Lewis, and I'd like to have a third, just because I think we had 3 members last time. Okay. All right. Mr. Holloway, and I'll come back for the third. Go ahead.
Okay, then. You being on a nominating committee, what I've been known and experienced is if you're on a nominating committee, you cannot vote. Is that correct?
So I looked into that issue earlier this afternoon. That being on the nominating committee does not prevent you from also being appointed as an officer position. So if you're on the nominating committee, you can be appointed to a position.
No, I'm not saying can you vote. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you can also vote.
Yes.
I don't know who you read.
Yeah.
I just want to get a clear understanding.
All members can vote.
Mr. Witzel,
Yes.
Mr. Witzel, Mr. Hughes, would either of you be interested in serving? Mr. Goddard as well. I'm thinking of those of us that were not a part of this the first time around. Certainly no pressure in this space, but I want to make sure that you all feel welcome to, if you'd like to participate as well. I'm asking.
So what is currently under consideration, Chair, is for
Third
nomination.
position for the nominating committee. Yep, that's what we're talking about.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hughes. Right. So our nominating committee consists of Ms. Ross, Dr. Lewis, and Mr. Hughes. I will ask Mr. Pinkley if you could convene this group quickly so that they can come together. Timeline-wise, I do think it would be most appropriate, quite frankly, that this group meets within the next 10 days or so, because you will then need to reach out to the people that you've selected so that they can accept the nomination and know that they, and we'll know exactly where we are on our ballot. And keep in mind also, we come back here on March 25th, and you want to, person X has been nominated, but you think person Y should be, Mr. Pinkley will be here to guide us through that, right? And so, and we will begin with the role of chair, then go through first vice chair, second vice chair, so that you don't happen to get the first role you're interested in, there's still an opportunity for the next, right? So thank you, Mr. Pinkley. Mr.
We need to
Director
take a motion
Fisher.
on
Okay.
the nominating
On
committee.
the nominating committee?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the 3 members? Thank you, Mr. Martinez. In 1 second.
Second.
Mr. Campbell-Gooch, I appreciate it. Any focused discussion? Mr. Campbell-Gooch?
I did want to state that you can be nominated for more than one.
Yes, so
Correct.
after
Okay, I
they
wanted to make
hold
sure
the
that-
elections for chair, for example, if you were not selected for that position, you can be nominated again for vice chair, second vice chair, and secretary.
Exactly. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Can I ask for a clarification?
Yes, Mr. Sweeney?
Mr. Pinkley, you said that if you're not elected, then you could be nominated for consideration for the next position.
Yes.
So,
From the floor. If the nominating committee didn't select you, Chair Davis will open it to nominations from the floor, and then someone from the board can nominate you.
Indeed.
okay. But what the committee's going to come back is 4 nominees for the 4 positions.
That's correct.
Ms. Ross?
No, I just need to be.
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Ms. Ross. Mr. Campbell-Gooch?
And then the next point I think is really important is that the votes won't be written this time, right?
Everyone will receive a sheet of paper or like a scrap of paper. They will write the name that they feel is best suited for that role, and then those will be tallied quickly, and that person will then assume that office.
And then we'll vote on each one separately. So
Each one will be voted on separately.
Okay.
But that's only if there are nominations from the floor, right?
If there are no nominations from the floor, then that person
takes it
just
on.
becomes that role.
Right.
Thank you very much, very, very much. With that, we're going to move to the Policy Promulgation Committee update. I want to acknowledge before we move here, I've said this at the Executive Committee meeting. I know Dr. Villiers is joining us here. There were quite a few meetings, even if they seemed small in number of 3. They were mighty, they were extensive, they took a lot of time and labor, and so I feel it's important as chair to say thank you to those that extended a lot of time and energy to our MNCO staff. We see Dr. Villiers in front of us, but I know Liz was instrumental in this space too. Thank you. It's also good, and I believe in discourse where people don't always agree. And so I am happy to know that we have come out on the other side with something that we're excited about sharing here with that. With that, Dr. Villiers, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. So we were going to give you a quick update. We did have 3 meetings over the past month. They were very productive meetings. Mr. Sweeney, and as well as Mr. Martinez, Mr. Campbell-Gooch, and Dr. Hildreth was able to attend one meeting. We brought, MNCO staff reached out to oversight boards from around the country. We talked to them about their best practices around creating policy reports, working with boards in order to create policy recommendations that are effective. And we brought that to the committee, as well as materials from law schools, from Department of Justice on creating effective policy reports. So we tried to create something that would be a best practice, but localized to our board in our city, and so we can do it the Nashville way. we were very productive in these sessions, and I think we came out with revisions that Mr. Sweeney spearheaded, rewriting some of the rules, as well as a workflow that'll govern our internal standard operating procedure on producing policy reports. So I do want to walk through just a bit of the workflow with you all, so you can take a look at it. I think you all have a hard copy of the workflow. So you'll notice on the left-hand side of the paper, it's broken into several groupings: the COB, the executive director.
Can I pause you for one moment?
Yes.
Am I clear that the reason why we couldn't have this on the screen here is because it was so loud?
Yes, there's
Noise.
a lot of background noise because there's a fan behind the screen.
Would it be I don't know how it takes to pull it up. Would it be too disruptive to even have it up here for the short time of showing this?
Yes, because you wouldn't be able to hear him speak.
No,
That loud?
it's loud.
that loud.
Okay.
It's a loud boy.
I just want to be clear because I know it is. Look, if you turn around for the public,
It is quite the
yeah.
flow. So I'll try to be quite quick to go through it.
And we'll put this also once we're
It'll be on
approved.
the website.
Quickly put it on the website
Yes.
too.
So we tried to outline the role of the board, the executive director, research analysts, other staff members, as well as how we are communicating with the public and other stakeholders. So we do receive recommendations for research and policy reports from any location, from anyone who comes to us, and we'll be developing requests based on that, which Director Fitchard will oversee to see if we want to move forward to develop a research proposal that we would then take to the board. Once we develop a research proposal, it will go to the board after approval by Director Fitchard, and if it's approved, we will make a recommendation of whether or not that report should be expedited. Expedited reports will usually be small in nature and be on time-pressing concerns or that are related to safety. At that point, we would release to the public the research proposal. Developing the research, we will be conducting monthly research reviews. So on page 2, we outline the research and drafting process. But every month we'll be conducting a research review, and one board-selected member will be able to attend that research review. Right now, our first research review is planned for Tuesday, March 10th at 1 p.m. So we would like for the board to nominate and elect a member to attend the March 10th research review session for whoever is able.
What would these meetings entail?
So these meetings are, Ms. Orozco and I will present all of the projects that we're working on to the MNCO staff and one board member with the findings as we have them, to workshop through what we're finding, the progress, to make sure that we're communicating the results well, and having a board member present will be really helpful to gain feedback from the board as we're producing the reports. We want to make sure that board members are involved throughout the process. So we can come back to that. If we find at the monthly research review that there is a time-pressing concern that we're finding in our research, Director Fitchard would make a determination that we may need to expedite a report, and that would be taken to the executive committee for approval. Through the process, we'll be communicating one-on-one with board members, getting feedback on drafts. As we develop towards a final draft of the report, we will hope that we'll be receiving as much feedback as possible from the board in order to make sure that you all are comfortable with the work that's happening, and that we have strong lines of communication between the researchers and board members to make sure that the policy recommendations reflect how the board is feeling towards the topic given the research. So now if we turn to page 3, which is the board process, This is where the Policy Promulgation Committee spent a lot of time to work out what the board process is. This process is also outlined in the revisions to the rules. There will be a minimum of 2 meetings, but for the regular approval process, which I'll go through first, there's a minimum of 3 meetings. The first meeting is a regular board meeting where we'll introduce the policy report, and we'll make a presentation to the board about the policy report, which then can be voted to release to the public, but not voted on for approval. From there, we will release that draft report to the public. The public will have written comments, as well as we'll hold a public comment meeting where we'll solicit feedback from the community. And based on that, we'll revise the policy report at a third meeting, which is a separate dedicated board meeting where the policy report is the only item on the agenda. The board will consider the feedback from the community and the report as a whole. The board will be able to ask questions and discuss and deliberate the policy recommendations as well as the content of the report. If the board approves the report at that third dedicated meeting, that would be released as policy from the board, or as policy recommendations by the board. If not, if there are revisions that need to be made, we will make revisions, and the updated draft can be considered at a regular board meeting with a regular agenda. So that would be the regular process for approving a report. Given that there's extra meetings, we do think that this can happen within 1 month, but it will require additional time and effort from the board, but the recommendations that we will be issuing, I think, are an important function and will be time well spent. The final page on page 4 is the expedited report process. So if a report is to be expedited, it will be heard at a board meeting, and the board will vote to release for public comment. We'll have a public comment meeting that will be combined with board deliberations in that case. So that would be a full board meeting where still there's one agenda item, but there will be a public comment session followed by deliberations by the board, where the board may approve an expedited report for public release. We felt that it was important to have a quick route, or quicker route, to release reports that might be technical of nature or time sensitive. So this document is reflected in the proposed rules, which were also sent out.
Thank you, Dr. Blair. Paul's here. We are positioned on two courts here. We need to decide whether or not we are positioned now to approve the policy workflow that's before us. We also have been asked on our decision to have a representative at the monthly research review meetings, right?
Yes.
With the first being in 2 Tuesdays, March 10th. So
March
Tuesday,
10th,
March 10th, right? Okay, just want to make sure I'm clear there. Any questions here, Mr. Campbell?
Time for that March 10th meeting?
1 p.m.
1 p.m. To
1 p.m. to 2, so it'll be a 1-hour meeting.
Okay.
I want to make sure also, I know had time to review this, but very helpful memo that we have, the policy advisory report, that help kind of breathe life into even the workflow in front of us. So thanks also to Mr. Sweeney for that. Are there additional questions or comments here, or is there a motion on the floor for the policy workflow in front of us?
No, not yet.
No, there hasn't been. Dr. Hildreth.
Move to accept the policy workflow as presented to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Hildreth. Anyone second?
Second.
Mr. Campbell Gooch, focus discussion.
We sound alike, but
You do.
well,
You
make
do
sure that
actually.
record. Yeah,
no
make sure that
kidding.
record.
Mr. Goddard, apologies. Thank you very much for the second focused discussion. Mr. Martinez.
For clarification, when you say policy workflow, you are referring to the amendment of the bylaws. Do we need to approve that, or that was SOP, right?
Yeah, that's an SOP,
That's
my
an
understanding.
SOP.
Yeah. We don't have to approve this, this is what we need to approve it for.
My apologies. So we are reviewing the document that's before us, authored by Mr.
bylaws.
Amending the bylaws. Right. That's so.
Part of which is diagrammed
In front of us, so the revision of the policy workflow. Correct. So if you don't mind, Dr. Hildreth.
Accept the amendment.
Thank you. Anyone second that?
The second stands.
Mr. Goddard, thank you very much. Focus discussion, Mr. Sweeney.
Just a couple things to note on the proposed rule. Number one, to clarify that any policy that we issue is a policy of the board. It's not a policy of the staff. So we're not just reviewing what the staff is recommending and giving, within a range of, well, somebody might propose one thing, somebody might propose another, and consider it on that level. Instead, it is a policy of the board, and therefore the board has to be invested in the policy, and that's why Dr. Valier was talking so much about feedback in this process is really, really important, because they don't want to get either ahead of the board or off in an area where the board hasn't fully considered it, and then have it come to the board for discussion, and the board then says, where are we? Why are we here?
Right.
So it's really important throughout the process, not only attending the monthly meetings, as Dr. Valier has requested, but providing feedback throughout the process after the first draft comes up, with each individual member going through it, and then giving feedback back to, Dr. Valier as to thoughts or questions or whatever, and pursuing that in depth so that it's fully understood. And then the other point to make is that when we vote, the vote is to adopt the report and each of its recommendations, and not necessarily as a whole, but individually. So we could do it as a whole if we agree with each of the individual recommendations and vote to adopt it all because we agree with all of them, but we have to make an individual consideration of each of the recommendations. So for when we were looking at the immigration one, I don't remember exactly, but there were like a dozen different policy recommendations. And every one of those recommendations has to stand on its own weight as to whether or not we support it. And we need to look at it and evaluate it in that way. And so the rule tries to make that process clear on top of the flow that Dr. Valier was talking about.
Any additional focus discussion here? Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you. I would just like to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Valier, the director of the staff, and also the committee. The work that the committee engaged here in great depth is exactly responsive to the concerns that I raised that led me to make the motion for its creation in the beginning. So I am just very pleased and honored that the process worked and we were able to come to a good result.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Hildreth. Thanks again to our wonderful staff as well. That will take vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Abstention, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Next action item here is for the monthly research review. Is there a volunteer here? Dr. Valier, before I take a volunteer, and I asked about, what the meeting would include, but it's very clear, right, that this is a monthly space. Before a member of the board attends these monthly research review meetings, would they need to be read up on anything? Would they receive materials ahead of time, or would they get what they need there and then?
We will have some conversations beforehand. I'm trying to project ahead a couple weeks. I do believe that there will be some focused discussion at that meeting on ongoing reports, and so there will be some previous conversations as well as some reading some materials that would like feedback on.
And for clarification, this isn't a person that would do it. It would be a new person every month. So this is a person who would, we're talking about just for one meeting, for 1 month, for the month of March.
If that's what the board decides. It could be the same person, it could be a different person every month.
Right.
It could be each month someone's selected. That's really up to the board of how you all think it's most effective.
Could be a subject matter interest for whatever you're looking at. That's in correct. Particular.
So is there a subject in particular we should keep in mind for March?
So we'll be discussing the immigration report, traffic stop report, and possibly body cameras.
Okay, thank you. March 10th, what's the time again? Noon?
1 p.m. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. It's a 1 hour meeting.
Okay, 1 to 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna give them some lunch or something?
We'll have some snacks and candy.
This is me. I'm gonna take my lunch, so I know. Okay, I won't speak for others here. With that, are there any volunteers? I will say to the board, I think it, without a doubt, I don't know what availability looks like, but I would think that at least for now, we'd want someone who has already been engaged in or doing a bit of work in the topics ahead of us here, but that's not an absolute statement. It could be any of us that might have the time or interest. So anyone want to volunteer for this?
I'll volunteer. I have the time.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Thank you. I want to also have an alternate here. Not saying a lot of things going to happen between today and March 10th, but should something happen, meaning you have a conflict in your schedule, I want to make sure that we have someone else that is available or at least has this placeholder on their calendar. So anyone else willing to do that?
I would, but I have a conflict at that time.
Not a problem. I know I'm looking that way, but it wasn't. Thank you, Mr. Weitzel. Thank you. Mr. Weitzel has volunteered for that. And so if you could stronghold on your calendar, tentative hold on yours, and then just communicate should there be something that occurs. And then for the March meeting, we'll continue to hold place on the agenda so that if nothing else is just a quick update as to what came out of that meeting, right? So the board's fully informed. Dr. Valliere, thank you very much. Are there any other action items?
Yes, so with the sort of success of the Policy Promulgation Committee, the MNCO will also be issuing proposed resolution reports from investigators. That might be a model that could be really helpful in making sure that the proposed resolution reports that get to the board are the style, the type that the board's expecting. So as we're looking forward, I just wanted to put out that with one success, it may be a model that we might think about replicating in other domains.
And I think it's important for the proposed resolution report to have a kind of a way that we're going to operate in it, like, and have it set up where that we're not working it out in real time because of the the time sensitive nature of those types of reports. Because we have several that are pending from October and November, we like to get those done. So I think having another committee meeting in regards to how you want those proposed resolution reports presented to the board would be helpful to us. Okay. So maybe having another committee.
Is it another committee, or did we just change the name of the band? And I mean, because the goal is not that far from the original one. I mean, I'm asking.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting a weight on necessarily the members of that particular space, but I assume that body would be able to engage quickly and come to a solution here on behalf of the board quicker than a newfound one. How do people feel about that, though? That is just an idea here.
So just change the bandwidth?
Well,
Or call it the policy
Call it-
promulgation and report.
right. So extending the name of the current committee so that
But
they can
I
be
agree,
active.
and I'm supporting the essence of your observation.
Does that need an official board action?
Yeah, your chair can't do much without a motion. So y'all tell me, if there's a motion here, I'm happy to entertain it. That was just an idea, though.
I would move that the Policy Promulgation Committee be broadened in scope to include resolution reports as well, and that it continue with the same membership as well as anybody else who wants to join the band.
Thank you very much. Second, thank you very much to Dr. Hildreth. Any focused discussion on this? Actually, let me ask a bit of focused discussion here. Mr. Campbell-Gooch, are you not the person who's leading that committee?
I am.
So let me ask for some sharing of leadership here, because I'm trying to think of. I'm thinking about your bandwidth, brother. And the fact that you tell me if you're fine with it, you're comfortable with it too. But I'm thinking about the March 10th meeting and the fact that then this committee is going to need to meet in short order too. There were members though of that committee as well. It's yourself, Mr. Martinez,
And Mr. Goddard.
Mr. Goddard,
Yes.
as well. So how does the committee? How do you feel about that? If you're fine with it, we'll move forward. But if not, perhaps another member might be willing to step into the chair role with this.
I'm absolutely fine with it, first of all. But second of all, I'm down with any of the other committee members offering to be chair. I think we did a pretty good job of sharing that power across the board. So it's just me and title. Everything else is just running.
No gavel.
Not at all.
Okay. All right, then no worries. And you all share. If it worked, I'm not. It's just a different band name. It's the same band. So
sure, I'll still be the drummer.
Yes, sir. So that works. With that, there's no additional focused discussion. We'll take the vote here. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Dr. Valier. Anything else at all?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you, and also to Liz as well, Mr. Risco as well. We've come now to our public comment. Do we have any signees? Anyone that signed up here? No? Okay. Thank you. Next then to new business. Any new business here? By a member of the board? What's to consider? Mr. Martinez.
Given the body-worn camera policies that were released by the police department yesterday, I feel like this would be an opportunity. They're seeking public comment. It would be yes. Given the body-worn camera policies that were released by MNPD yesterday, I think this would be an opportune time for our staff to maybe initiate an expedited report, given that the police department is seeking public comment on it, and I think we, as a board, should release our comments on those police policies. I don't know if it's something that we want to decide or talk about today, or...
You're right. We raised this a little bit in the executive committee meeting too. Let me pause here. Any immediate thoughts, responses here to what Mr. Martinez shared? He's right. We have shared this out before. It seems that they took some of this into consideration as they crafted their policy, but the question for the board here, for our colleague, is do we want to expedite a response here as well? Request our staff. Mr. Sweeney.
Yes. Ms. Fitchard, what were you saying on the timing on responses of what has been requested with the release yesterday, or how we can find out what that timing is?
Yeah, allegedly they're supposed to have 2 to 3 more meetings, public meetings. I think that Mr. Bunton and Captain Whited said that this was a draft policy, that they were going to be soliciting feedback from the community. They did not have those dates scheduled. I think that there will be something in the middle of March, but they didn't have it in concrete at that point. So I'm not really sure when the dates are.
Do they give any indication as to when they expect to promulgate policy?
No. They just said within a few months.
Okay.
So that's my understanding.
Because, I mean, one thought might be is to take the rules and roll them into what the policy consideration or the draft policy consideration had been on the body-worn cameras, and then decide after reviewing those whether the best way to address it is to expedite it, and then for Dr. Valier at this March 10 meeting to kind of make a recommendation one way or the other to the board, and if it needs to get expedited, to let the executive committee know, and then we can take it on an expedited course.
That's a good point. So, Director Fitchard, is that something you feel that you could confirm for us?
Yes.
There's a timeline, and that way we'll know what the course of action may need to be. That also means that Chair may be calling on the executive committee to meet sooner rather than later, should the need arise. But again, if it is something where we need to call an executive committee meeting, Director Fitchard, I'll work with you here, but I'd like for the board to just know as much as possible so that if they have questions, comments, considerations they want the executive committee to take up and to consider during their meeting, they can do that as well, since we would be meeting as a whole board. And that allows everyone to have their voice heard there. Any additional thoughts or considerations on this, or are we in agreement here with this approach?
That's fine.
Here, okay. Any addition, Mr. Martinez? Or Ms. Holloway, you turn around? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing what you're doing. It's just kind of like a paper trail, it's a process. Let them know that we are taking this step, next step. That'll show them that's what we are doing. We just didn't sit back and complain about this. It means that we are taking each step as we go along. And so we can be here.
So I want to read a little bit that that Captain White had sent out. He says, "We welcome comments and questions, many of which may be addressed in a video that will be posted on the webpage Tuesday morning. Over the course of the coming months, we will be working with the mayor's office and with other stakeholders to engage with the public to provide more information about the program."
Said Tuesday.
Okay.
So that's all he says. They don't give any
Did
definitive
the video
dates.
get posted? Was there a video that got posted?
Well, it's a YouTube video, and I don't know if they posted it, but I was able to link it to that email.
Okay.
But they showed it last night, so I believe it's up now.
Okay.
Any additional new business or announcements here? Okay. Believe, well, this is the month of February. It's dwindling fast here. But I know that there's several community events still here in Black History Month. I encourage people to be engaged and involved. We have about a month and some change before our open house.
Yes.
And that is on a Saturday.
It is on Saturday.
The 4th.
The 4th.
12 to 2.
Yes, from 12 to 2.
Perfect. And we'll have like communication that is posted and shared out.
We'll send out invitations. Okay. We'll take care of all of that.
It'll be great. I'm sure the weather will be a lot warmer by then, we pray, so that'll be great too. Our next meeting is on March the 25th, and it, as Director Fitchard shared, is at Coleman Park Community Center. We'll have the public comment list available then. Mr. Campbell Gooch was engaging community throughout to get the word out. I encourage us all, and I believe we saw the flyer as well. I myself will use my own media and other apparatus to get this out as well and share it out. And maybe we need to bring a friend to a CLB meeting. That means you got to feed people though, so let's wait on that. But I want to share here. So the 25th, and I shared this lightly though. I am scheduled currently to be out of town during that space and time, so I'll work with Mr. Martinez to ensure that I have no doubt, like last time, that we'll be in good space and head in space. But I don't believe that there's anything else that is outstanding here. We've made a lot of really good decisions and movement here. We got a lot of work to do after this space here. So as a recap here, we will be engaging and speaking with the mayor's office, also to request the emergency meeting within the next 7 days. Dr. Hildreth, I will connect with you after the meeting here to make sure you're fully informed. And what I shared here in the meeting is that we're not assuming or pushing down on your calendar that if by chance it does not work for your calendar, I as chair will be available for this meeting. But we also have our March 10th review meeting coming here. I would like for us to consider and think about, though I like the point about subject matter and how we move around, but I think this is something as a board, all of us should want to get some type of experience in being a part of and knowing more about. It is just a 1 hour commitment, so as much as it's feasible for people's time, maybe we do just kind of swap it around every month, or maybe it's every 2 months for some cadence, so I welcome that discussion. And then also we have the nominating committee that will quickly be brought together by Mr. Pinkley as well. So Ms. Ross, Dr. Lewis, as well as Mr. Hughes. And I believe that encapsulates our movement and decisions here. If there's anything I've missed, please let me know as chair, and I'll be absolutely as communicative as I can be around any and all progress that we receive here and responses here. So that is it on news, business, and announcements. Director Fitcher.
I just want to say, in regards to the research review session, I think that our time is a little bit more flexible, so that if we needed to change the time to later in the afternoon or earlier, I think that we would be able to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Okay, that is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That's never the part where we have any problems.
Second.
I heard Dr. Lewis first. Mr. Campbell-Gooch second. Any focused discussion? Not. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you. We're adjourned at 5:41. Thank you, everyone. Sure. Good evening.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.